This is my third time at Fantasia International Film Festival. The first was in 2006 with Ultraman Max. The second was in 2023 with my film Akari. And today, I have the privilege of returning to celebrate Ultraman 60th anniversary. Before I begin, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Rupert and Andre and Pierre, to everyone at Fantasia, to all the staff and volunteers, and all of you. Thank you for welcoming back. For me, Fantasia is a very special place, not only for me, not only for Japanese science fiction, but for filmmakers, artists, and audience from all over the world who believe in imagination. I am truly honored to stand here again. Today is July 17th, exactly 60 years ago. On this very day, the first episode of Ultraman, Ultra Operation Number 1, was broadcast in Japan. I cannot imagine a more meaningful day to speak about Ultraman. Before July 17th, 1966, Ultraman did not exist. After July 17th, 1966, Japan began living in the world where Ultraman exists. That may sound like the beginning of a television series, but I believe it was also the beginning of something much greater. Today, I would like to share one simple question. How did the birth of Ultraman change Japan? When the first Ultraman was broadcast, no one imagined they were witnessing history. It was simply another Sunday evening. Family gathered around the television set. Children sat on the floor. Parents probably thought it's just another children's television program. No one knew that 6 years later, people from around the world would still gather to celebrate that evening. Across Japan, children with very different lives were joined together in shared experiences of imagination for 30 minutes. The next morning, they became Ultraman. They became members of Science Patrol. They drew Bemra, a giant space kaiju. They fought invisible monsters in schoolyards and parks. They looked up at the sky, wondering what might be waiting beyond the cloud. Looking back today, I don't believe Ultraman simply because popular. Many television programs become popular. Most are eventually forgotten. Ultraman became something different. It became part of childhood. It became part of childhood, part of family memories, part of our imagination, and eventually part of our collective imagination. I believe that is why we are still here today. Not only to celebrate television series, but to celebrate the beginning of a shared imagination. To understand Ultraman, we first need to understand something unique Japanese, tokusatsu. The word is usually translated as special effects. Technically, that is correct, but tokusatsu has never been only about technology. It is a way of telling stories, a way of making the impossible feel real, a way of giving shape to dream, to fears, and to hope. Around the world, Godzilla introduced many people to Japanese tokusatsu. Ultraman was born from this very tradition. But in 1966, it did something completely extraordinary. Back then, movie theater had giant monster movies, but Ultraman brought the cinematic scale into the living room every single week. A silver giant, 14 meters tall, fighting unique, beautiful design, kaiju in full color. It was a cinematic revolution broadcast on a weekly television schedule. Nothing like this exists anywhere else in the world. For generations of Japanese children, tokusatsu was where imagination came alive, where ordinary people could become extraordinary, where impossible was suddenly felt real. Ultraman inherited that tradition, but it also gave it something new. People often ask me, what makes Ultraman different? There are many answers. The heroes, the kaiju, the design, the music, the special effects, all of these are important, but after spending my years creating Ultraman projects, I came to believe that its greatest strength lies somewhere else. Ultraman always looked at the world through the eyes of children, not because children are simply its audience, but because children are the future itself. That spirit, more than any special effects, is what has kept Ultraman alive for 6 years. I was not one of the children who watched Ultra Operation number 1 on July 17, 1966. I belong to the generation that discovered Ultraman through Run. But I received the very same dream. When I was a little boy, my father and I often walked together along the seaside. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we simply stood together looking out across the ocean. One day I asked him, what beyond the sea? He smiled. There are other countries. The world is much bigger than we can see. I don't remember every word, but I clearly remember how I felt. When I looked beyond the sea, I wasn't only thinking about another country. I was imagining another world, another future, another possibility. That feeling never left me. Years later, I realized Ultraman had given me exactly the same feeling, not only through its heroes, not only through its adventures, but through the quiet belief that beyond today's horizon, there is always another tomorrow waiting for us. Perhaps that is why Ultraman has never belonged only to the past. It has always pointed towards the future. Years passed like many other children. I grew up, but the dream remained with me. Then one day I was given an extraordinary opportunity, not only to watch Ultraman, but to help create it. For me, that was more than becoming a film director. It means becoming part of a story that had already inspired generations before me. Over the years, I had the privilege of directing Ultraman Gaia, Ultraman Max, Ultraseven X, and later the future film Superior 8 Ultra Brothers. The people who created Ultraman, Eiji Tsuburaya, Hajime Tsuburaya, and Tetsuo Kinjo, always asked themselves a very simple question: what can we create for children? Their guiding principle was always the same: love and dreams for children. Because Ultraman was built on the spirit, I believe it became something truly special. Years later, people often ask me one question. It was about my film, Superior 8 Ultra Brothers. In fact, a scene from that film was just shown in the documentary you just watched, The Origin of Ultraman. It was the scene where children are gathered at home, staring at the television screen, and people ask me, why does Superior 8 Ultra Brothers begin on July 17, 1966? For me, the answer has always been the same, because July 17, 1966 was the day the imagination of Japanese children changed forever. When I met Superior 8 Ultra Brothers, I wasn't trying to recreate the past. I was trying to pass that very dream forward. Towards the horizon, I had once looked at with my father toward another world, another future, another possibility. In that film, I was trying to give shape to the dream I had received, and perhaps I was also fulfilling one of my own. Perhaps that is how Ultraman has continued for 60 years, not because one generation held on to it, but because every generation made it their own. Today, we celebrate the 60th anniversary of Ultraman, but I don't think this anniversary is only about looking back. It is also about looking forward. The people who created Ultraman were never satisfied with repeating yesterday. They always searched for something new, something that would inspire the next generation. I believe that is why Ultraman still matters today. Not because it belongs to the past, but because it continues to inspire our future. In just a few moments, we will return to July 17, 1966, the evening when millions of Japanese children, without realizing it, received a dream that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. In just a few moments, you will watch Ultra Operation number 1. I hope you enjoy it, but even more than that, I hope for a little while, you can see the world through the eyes of those children. I received that dream. Years later, I was fortunate enough to help continue the story. Today, I have had the privilege of sharing it with you. Thank you very much. 練習です。